Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with Warpfire Minis, and today we're diving into Slaves to Darkness. They're one of the big bads right now with Be'lakor, Chosen, and Pokeballs, so let's just jump into it. So the number one problem you're going to face when you're playing into Slaves to Darkness is going to be Chosen with the Slaanesh banner. Gives them a 3d6 charge, there's nothing you can do about it, and they get +1 attacks whenever they charge in. And combined with the Gaunt Summoner and a couple other shenanigans, just turn one if they want to get in, they're getting in. So let's jump over to the table and I'll show you what we can do about it. So first up, when you're going against Slaves to Darkness, you need to be very careful in your deployment. And by that, I mean you need to have your hammer units screened out. And that's because Slaves to Darkness, with that Gaunt Summoner, they can pretty much put their Chosen anywhere they want to be turn one. And I'll show you what I mean by that. And so the main trick they're using right now is the Gaunt Summoner. And this is what they're calling the Pokeball, is in deployment, he's got a thing called Silver Tower, and you can put a unit in there in Deep Strike. And so they take their unit of 10 Chosen that have the Slaanesh banner, and so they're gonna be able to deploy them from this Gaunt Summoner and then still have a 3d6 charge because the banner gives them the pledge for Slaanesh. And so the Gaunt Summoner himself, it can move 5 inches, then they're gonna run him on top of it. So let's just say he rolls a 3, the average, he's moving 8 inches forward. All right, and so boom, the Gaunt Summoner is there. And now he can deploy the Chosen wholly within 12 of him and outside of 9 of you, unless he casts his spell, and now it can be wholly within 18 inches of him and outside of 7 of you. And that alone, look at the Gaunt Summoner, he can be in some really cool spots. But the Gaunt Summoner starts out pledged to Tzeentch, and so he gets to use that Mark's ability. And so now that Gaunt Summoner gets to roll 2d6, and then pick a spot on the battlefield within that many inches. And so again, let's say he rolls a 7 and picks a spot over here. The ability lets him teleport to anywhere within 6 inches of that spot outside of 9 of you. And so he can go from here, pick the spot, and then teleport 6 inches over that way from that spot. And then it just makes it to where anywhere that Gaunt Summoner wants to be, he's pretty much gonna be able to be there to hit anywhere in your deployment that's weak. And so you need to make sure that you have your deployment just right because they're gonna get where they need to be. And so in this example, let's say that the Chosen, they're gonna go ahead and come in. He's gonna use the Silver Tower, turn one, and come right at me. And so boom, the Chosen are down. They're easily wholly within 18 of the Gaunt. They're 7 inches away from my clan rats. They're coming in, 3d6 charge with a reroll if they need it. They're pretty much always going to make it in. So boom, here they come. And now here's where your deployment is really important. The Chosen, they have the ability to fight twice once per game. Make sure that they declare it at the start of the combat phase. If they wait to see the outcome of a fight, then it's too late. They gotta say it before they make any swings. Then another tip is make sure all out attack, it only applies to one of those fights, not both. But with that fight twice ability, they get to pile in the first time, so boom into the clan rats. They're gonna fight and instantly wipe all of them, no problem. And then for their second fight, because they charged, even if there's no enemy units in combat with them, they're gonna get to do another pile in and then swing on things that are within 3 inches. So they shift down, but thanks to how I deployed, there's not anything within 3 inches for them to hit with that second fight. And so that's kind of the big takeaway, is that if you are going to try and screen something out, you need to make sure that you have at least 6.1 inches between the front of that screen and the thing you're trying to protect. Because they're gonna hit that thing, blow it up, pile in 3, and then still be able to swing on things within 3. So just make sure you're outside of that 6 inches. I normally will tell my opponent, hey, I'm gonna be 6.1 away, just so they know my intent that this is what I'm doing. The only time that's not going to be true is if you think that they're gonna be able to get both units into you. So in this example, 6 Varangard and the 10 Chosen. What they're gonna do instead is they're gonna fight with the Varangard first, easily kill the 20 clan rats. Then when they activate the Chosen for the first fight, they're gonna pile in 3 inches. They'll be out of range to swing on you with this fight, but with that second fight, they're gonna get to pile in again. And so now, boom, these Chosen are now hitting the things that you were trying to protect. They're gonna kill all the Doom players here easily, maybe kill the Greyseer too, and they're gonna have my Rattling Guns trapped in combat where they're not gonna get to do anything. And just shooting you straight, I have now lost the game. So being very, very careful with those screens and knowing what they can possibly do to you, just super, super important. If you think they can get both units in, you need to have your things you're protecting at least that 9.1 inches away from the front to keep them safe. But we'll say that the Chosen, we screened them out, only they made it in, so they're gonna be stuck there, and now it would flip over to my turn. It's a good idea to have things ready to counterpunch and just jump straight on them. So in this example, I've got the Rattling Guns ready to shoot them. I've got Jezzails ready to pop out from a Nahul, shoot them. I've got the Doomflayers in a position to hit them. Deceiver can also run and charge with the Deathmaster. We can fish for the big fight last from the Grayseer and just pile everything on top of these guys and zonk them. That would be the dream. The problem with that is enters Be'lakor. And so now the problem Be'lakor is introducing is we're ready to jump on him and clap these guys back, but he's gonna point at one of our units and just turn it off for the turn. In this situation, probably my Doomflayers, since they pose the biggest risk. And that's gonna make my job really, really difficult. Maybe impossible depending on your list. Like my Rattling Guns can go in, my Jezzails could go in, my Deceiver could go in. Maybe I kill 5 or 6 Chosen, but then those 5 that are left are just gonna kill my Deceiver. Or if, let's say I ignore him and he Dark Masters these guys, I can go around, try and score objectives and kill the small units, but he's gonna countercharge these guys straight into my Doomflayers, and I'm gonna lose them too. Dark Master is just so powerful. Anytime you go to use an ability, it's a 3-up. So you go to move, you go to charge, you go to fight, you go to use any of your War Scroll abilities, just the 3-up shuts you down, and it's tough to play around it. And so in an ideal world, we try and avoid this situation altogether. So let's go over some other things we can do. And so let's say you outdropped them, you're making them go first, and you think that they're gonna come in and hit you real hard. So what I'll do is I'll try to have a Grayseer outside of range of his wizards to unbind, and I'll use Magical Intervention to try and cast out one of the Forbidden Power spells. The 2 good ones there, you have the Shards or the Bridge. Turn 1, I'll usually go for the Shards first, and I'll show you what that can do. And so with the Shards, what that's gonna do is it denies Deep Strike within 6 inches of it. They'll still be able to charge it, but you can use it to just give yourself a buffer of some space. Now that Gaunt Summoner is not gonna be able to teleport into here, and just more importantly, when he tries to drop those Chosen in, instead of them being 7 inches away from the front, and potentially getting in, hitting, and then hitting again into your good stuff. And so now here, they're gonna end up being 15 inches away as they're trying to stay outside of 6 inches of that. They're gonna be way back here. And unfortunately, we can't do that across the whole board, but if you know you have your really good stuff here you need to protect, you can use it to zone out a portion of the board to keep them away from you. If you're not running Forbidden Power, you can do the same thing with any manifestation that has a move characteristic. You can just try and summon it out to the middle of the board. They've got to stay 9 inches away from it, or 7 inches away if they get their spell off. And you can use it just to make their charge longer to get into your screen. So after the Chosen and the Vanguard 2, using those double fights, the next biggest problem you're gonna run into is Be'lakor. And it's just a combination of him doing everything. He's got Dark Master, where he can just shut off your most powerful threat. That's getting ready to counterpunch him. He's 10 OC, so he's really good at contesting objectives. And his Rampage, being able to give himself and 2 other units in his combat range fight first. It makes it to where when you take the hit from Chosen and you live through it, when you get ready to punch him back, it's gonna be really hard to do enough. Then if you add in that he's a Wizard 2, he's got a 6-up ward, an Ethereal save, and has an awesome War Scroll spell and Enfeeble Foe, Be'lakor at 440 points, he's just one of the best models in the game right now. Then the last thing with Slaves to Darkness is just that their raw stats are awesome. Those big hammer units, they're gonna be 30 wounds on a 3-up save. They're 3d6 charging. When they get to you, they do 1 billion damage. They fight twice. Then you add in Be'lakor shutting down your units or crippling them with a spell, or the Gaunt Summoner just being able to put those units anywhere on the board. And then looking at the big picture of all that, it looks like an uphill battle, and the reality is that it is. They're one of the top armies in the game, and these are the reasons why. But when you go against them, there's still a little bit of hope, so let's go over what we can do. So when I'm going against Slaves to Darkness, the first thing I'm hoping for to improve my chances are that we get a 6 objective mission. And that's just gonna be luck of the draw or where you're at in the tournament. But if you can get them on a 6 map, boom, your chances have improved immensely. If you get a 3 mission one like shifting objectives, then it's gonna be a tough round. But they only have a few units. They're gonna be a 1-drop list or a 2-drop list. And just those big hammer units are very expensive. Be'lakor's kind of pricey. So them having a few units is something you need to leverage to your advantage. And with that in mind, I'm normally going to start out the game trying to target their little units. Be'lakor, the Chosen, and Varangard, those are all going to be extremely difficult to kill. My little chaff units or little chip shooting aren't going to do anything at all to them. And so I'm going to go out there and try and target that Chaos Chariot or the Furies that they've got out there and see if I can take 1 or 2 units away. If you can get rid of those small units, then they're going to be forced to put Be'lakor, Varangard, or the Chosen on objectives to make sure they're scoring primary. Or they're going to have to take them to a weird position to score a battle tactic. And anything you can do to take those guys out of the game or away from just blowing you up, that's great. And the good news is if you can get to those small units in these styles of list, they don't have recursion, and so they're not coming back. The next thing Slaves of Darkness is weak to is Mortal Wounds. And overall as an army, they have a low wound count. And so every little chip damage you can do, those D3s that normally don't matter, they really do matter in this matchup. Their list is typically going to be 100 wounds or less. And so chipping away at those Chosen and Varangard with some D3 mortal wounds here and there, it's going to be more impactful than you think. But then eventually you're going to find yourself in a position where you have to fight the Chosen or the Varangard. And to do that effectively, you really want to have access to Strike First or Strike Last. If you can give them Strike Last, then you just hope Be'lakor fails his Rampage. If he gets it, the Strike First and Strike Last cancel themselves out, so you still get to hit first. But if you can give them Strike Last, pile in a few different units on top of them, ideally you can take a big chunk out where they're not going to kill both of those units you sent in instantly. And then you'll have them tied up and then have a chance to whittle them down over the game. Then another thing you can do is try and use those season rules. We've got the Honor Guard ability to make one of your units a bodyguard, and that can take away one of their attacks. Just that turn they charge in, they're going to be 4 attacks down to 3. That's great. Then if you can get them stuck in a tar pit with a bunch of wounds or in combat with a couple units, being able to drop their attacks down from 3 to 2 when they're not charging is a big deal and can hurt them in a real way. Then all that said, you can take all these notes and go in and play a really good game and still lose. And that's okay. Slaves of Darkness, in my opinion, they're a little bit too powerful. And when we look at the picture of the meta right now, kind of the top 4, top 5 armies, it's either Slaves to Darkness or it's an army that can deal with Slaves of Darkness. You've got things like Croak pumping out a bunch of mortal wounds. You've got Stormcast, which is just able to hit them hard enough, maybe take the hit. Beast of Chaos, they've got the wound density to deal with it. Slaanesh, again, big wound density, Ren 2 shooting. These are all good tools into Slaves to Darkness. But then the picture after that is everybody else, it's just gonna be kind of a struggle. If Slaves of Darkness, if they force you to go first, they go second, and then they get that early double turn, you're probably gonna lose the game. And that's just the way it is right now. With them being able to 3d6 charge, there's really no escaping them. Most of the maps, if they're somewhere in the middle of the board, they're gonna be able to just move and charge on to the next objective and hit the next unit and wipe them too. And so if you can, like if you can go 2 drops, hope that they're a 2-drop 2, make them go first. And sure, that'll give you the opportunity to take a double at some point in the game if you need it. But more importantly, it means you won't get double turned, which is gonna give you a lot better chance at winning the game. But we'll see what they have in store for us. We got an update coming next month sometime, and then we got the new GHB coming in June or July that we should see some big changes. I think the rules team, they're kind of aware of Slaves of Darkness and Stormcast and so on being a little bit too powerful. So I'd much rather see a world where they're bringing those top armies down a notch rather than bringing the bottom up. And that's because when I'm watching people play these Slaves of Darkness or Stormcast armies where they're just so powerful, a lot of times the opponent's not having fun. And even then, sometimes the Stormcast or Slaves of Darkness player, they're not really having that much fun either. Like, you jump on somebody turn 1 or turn 2, get the double, blow them up, and it's over. It's not what I'm looking for in a war game, and I think a lot of people agree with that. But fingers crossed, we'll see what they do. I've got faith in the rules team, and I think they're gonna make things better. And as always, if you guys need models, check us out at warpfireminis.com.